Good evening, and welcome to the Japan Earth Observer for July 17. This is a news roundup for the past week in the space, Earth observation, and geospatial industries in Japan. I'm Robert Cheatham. I run a research and strategy consulting firm called Abaca Labs, and I write the Japan Earth Observer newsletter. Tonight we're going to lead off with the successful test of the HTVX reusable rocket technology being developed by JAXA. After several reschedulings, JAXA finally had a successful test for its RVX, vertical takeoff, vertical landing demonstrator at the Noshiro Rocket Testing Center in Akita. The 7.3 meter vehicle has been delayed about 5 times since its original March target date due to weather and ground facility issues. It wasn't a big, flashy test. It simply ascended to 10 meters, executed a 10-meter lateral translation, and then landed vertically and upright without blowing up. Japan's objective is to develop a reusable rocket, but RVX remains a pretty far cry from SpaceX's Falcon 9 or Blue Origin's New Glenn. At the same time this week, China returned a Long March 10B first stage from a full orbital launch using a wire rig on a ship. JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries have been developing and testing these reusable engines for 10 years now. RVX is not even the first Japanese rocket to complete a takeoff and landing test like this. Honda successfully achieved a similar feat to a 270-meter altitude in June last year. While congratulations are in order, a successful test is a successful test. JAXA seems to be taking a slow and risk-averse approach to developing this technology, and its next step will be a test with the Callisto program, a joint development effort with France's CNES space agency and Germany's DLR space agency, to which Japan is contributing the RVX engines and control systems. Callisto, which is at 14 meters, will be about double the size of RVX, is currently scheduled to launch from French Guiana in early 2027, but that schedule has slipped several times from the original 2020 target, so 7 years late. It remains to be seen how this will feed back into a lower cost, reusable flagship rocket like a future version of the H3. I wonder what it would take for JAXA to get Honda and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries working together to move the ball down the field a bit more rapidly. JAXA's Epsilon S rocket program will revert to a more proven motor design, the M35. JAXA is finally going to resume Epsilon S second stage engine testing next week, July 23 at Tanegashima Space Center. The motors are going to revert to the so-called enhanced Epsilon model. This follows 2 static fire explosions during modified design testing in 2023 and 2024, and the decision to return to a more proven motor design signals some caution on the path to Epsilon S qualification. Shift from the E21 engine, which is the one that's blown up a couple of times, to a revised version of the M35 called M35A is going to also result in a reduction in payload capacity from 600 kilograms to 400 kilograms. This is a very much delayed rocket program that had a successful past, but the last 5 years has been stuck on the ground due to a mix of rocket engine failures and launch failures. ALE, Japanese company, unveiled a 3rd generation satellite deployer for artificial shooting star project. This was unveiled at Spacetide by the ALE CEO Reina Okajima, presenting the overhauled payload storage and feed mechanism for what they're calling their Starlight Challenge. ALE has already had 2 previous missions, ALE 1 and 2, that were launched in 2019 and successfully verified the ability to maneuver in orbit, but did not end up deploying the metallic grains that create the artificial shooting stars due to concerns over contributing to orbital debris in low Earth orbit, which is pretty crowded. The redesigned deployer called ALE-3 is going to transition the technology toward lower, so-called very low Earth orbit applications. A company called Chick launched a turnkey ocean mapping package that relies on a uncrewed surface vehicle plus a multi-beam sonar and a 3D visualization package. Chick is based in Sendai in northern Japan, a marine services company. This bundled package combines their Blue Boat unmanned surface vehicle, so-called Cerulean Surveyor, multi-beam sonar, and a 3D visualization software tool. Packages all this up into a shallow water mapping toolkit that can be used with minimal training. Microbase released a sub-municipal level, so more highly detailed than previously available, vacant house rate open data set that was developed via machine learning. They've released this at the town block level with vacant housing rate estimates calculated via a random forest model. This was trained on Toyota City visual inspection survey, so ground truth survey, and then regressed against census demographics and a national land base tiling. It's been published as open data under a CC BY ND 4.0 license. Abea Voice AI is now running on JAXA's camera robot. So JAXA runs the INTBAL-2 camera drone aboard the International Space Station. JAXA successfully has demonstrated a lightweight voice recognition AI that can run on the actual device inside the ISS Kibo research module. It is built by Abea under a JAXA contract. It enables astronauts to issue verbal commands like move and rotate to the INTBAL autonomous camera drone without having any ground station link. It runs entirely on the actual INTBAL hardware and eliminates any latency from ground communication. I think these INTBALs are pretty cute. The Takaichi administration has delivered its first domestic drone mass production mandate for defense. Takaichi, who's part of the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, has approved the first economic and fiscal policy blueprint, mandating a 5-year push for highly autonomous domestic UAV manufacturing. This policy blueprint frames drone mass production as an essential part of sustaining operations during prolonged conflicts. This week's deals include Space Tech Accelerator raising 200 million yen, about $1.3 million in a seed round. This is for satellite data, palm oil supply chain verification. The seed round was led by Frontier Innovations. Star Signal Solutions raised 450 million yen seed round for space debris tracking. Star Signal Solutions was founded by JAXA alumni specializing in orbital mechanics and optical tracking. The space situational awareness startup closed the round led by JAFCO. It's also backed by 2 billion yen from JAXA's Space Strategy Fund Phase 2. Company is building a global observation network targeting sub-10 centimeter debris. So this is a debris tracking effort with large-scale radar deployment site in Australia already under development. Astroscale raised 30.6 billion yen for an on-orbit servicing fleet, as well as to accelerate the Lexi P mission targeted for 2028. Funding is based on convertible bonds and equity from Hewlett and Sky Perfect JSAT. They're going to direct this at Japan, UK, collaborative production expansion, as well as the Lexi P mission. Axospace also eased its bank covenants amid a 38% revenue decline and wider operating losses. Axospace is a satellite manufacturer that just went public less than a year ago. They've been forced to negotiate a 2 billion yen in overdraft and loan commitment facilities with Mizuho Bank, delaying their profit covenants from FY27 to FY29. The 6-month revenue through May 31st fell 38% year on year. That is not good for a startup, going from 928 million yen to 564 million yen, with operating losses widening on satellite test model costs and staff scaling, as well as having to shift government contract revenue recognition. NIDO has launched an 80 million yen satellite data challenge for urban infrastructure and disaster response. METI and NIDO opened applications for development contests leveraging Earth observation data. They've got 2 themes, infrastructure management and disaster response, with prizes up to 20 million yen each. Shortlisted teams are going to get free compute time on government-backed satellite data platform and 3D urban data from MLIT's Plateau project. iSpace and Sky Perfect JSAT signed an MOU for Mission 3 Ultra lander communications. iSpace is building lunar landers. Sky Perfect JSAT is a communication company that has a whole bunch of geostationary communication satellites. So JSAT runs a commercial near-Earth tracking network as a backup downlink that will be able to support the Ultra Lunar Land mission on Mission 3. The primary ground link is going to be part of ESA's ESOC network, so JSAT's ground stations will add some physical redundancy. JSAT's Spaceline product has previously helped with signal measurement tracking for NASA's Artemis II crewed lunar land flyby. And iSpace in this announcement also confirmed it's shifting its Mission 3 from a 2027 launch to a 2028 launch, which is going to require some additional adjustments for iSpace. iSpace has not been having a lot of good news lately. Their contract with NASA, which was through Draper, they're a subcontractor to Draper, was terminated. This was under NASA's CLPS program, the Commercial Lunar Payload Services. They had the CP-12 lunar payload subcontractor after NASA and under NASA and Draper. NASA and Draper ended their contract a couple of weeks ago, so this is really just a confirmation that iSpace has had its contract terminated with Draper. Draper is an interesting nonprofit research organization that had originally won the CLPS task order with iSpace as a subcontractor who was going to build the actual lunar lander. NASA indicated that the contract was terminated because the lander redesign was pushing the launch to 2030 and 2031. This wasn't the first redesign. It's had multiple redesigns. It was originally supposed to launch last year. Now, NASA had multiple instruments expected to launch on this lunar lander, and it has indicated it remains committed to the original science payloads. iSpace has said it won't affect their financials, but this has to be a blow after a series of setbacks. iSpace has said they plan to pursue future opportunities with NASA under the CLPS 2.0 RFP that was released in April. Bull Space had launched 2 HORN debris prevention devices and were successfully tested a couple of weeks ago. They announced that they're going to fly these devices on an EnduroSat satellite next year. They signed an orbital demonstration agreement with Bulgaria's EnduroSat program to fly its passive um, debris prevention system on a 16-unit satellite that'll launch via a SpaceX transporter rocket in 2027. The HORN is a deployable membrane that, when it extends, increases atmospheric drag and enables a faster, propellant-free deorbit at the end of the mission. The goal is to become a certified deorbit supplier for EnduroSat in the future. And that wraps up this week's Japan Earth Observer News Roundup. If you like what you see, you can subscribe. If you'd also like to get regular news roundups and in-depth stories like this through the Japan Earth Observer newsletter, you can do so at japanearthobserver.com. Thanks.